Go.
Did you know that the average dairy cow eliminates up to 120 pounds of waste per day? Anyone know that statistic? Pretty staggering. And that's without any toilets, sewage, or septic system. So what I'm here to talk to you about is dairy farming, and my persuasive speech today is trying to convince you to not drink the traditional dairy milk that you find in your grocery store. Consider other alternatives for protein sources and dairy sources. Our government started subsidizing American farmers at an annual cost of $24 billion per year. Of that amount, $7 billion in government subsidies go to our dairy farmers. Now what this does is it creates a political situation around our agricultural industry where our government has a very large influence over what our farmers are producing, the types of foods that they're producing, how they're producing it, the rate at which they're producing it, and of course influencing the production. So again, dairy farming is receiving $7 billion a year in government subsidies, accounting for almost 1/3 of the total amount that they're providing to farming. Now, what I find really disappointing about the state of our dairy farming is that, for example, a cow in nature can produce up to 10 pounds of milk per day, versus a cow in a farm situation is producing upwards of 100 pounds of milk per day. So what's happening with these cows is their udders are so huge and so heavy that they're actually dragging on the ground, causing infection and sickness among the dairy cows. And so therefore they're treated with large amounts of antibiotics. And how do you think we get cows to actually produce that amount of milk? Any idea how we could get a cow who normally would produce 10 pounds to produce 100 pounds
Hormones.
in a day?
Hormones.
Exactly, bovine growth hormones. So in addition to the massive amounts of ongoing antibiotics that they're getting treated for to prevent, or maintain this illness level kind of at a low point, these growth hormones are being pumped into cows on a regular basis because not only has our population exploded and we have such a huge demand, but handling the disease and then just producing a lot of products so that they can actually stay in business. Now, we all know that milk kind of goes through a process before it gets to our dairy counters. Would you think that maybe the byproducts of these hormones and antibiotics might be eliminated from the milk from these processes? No, it's not. So every time you go to drink milk, not only are you getting a form of protein called casein, which has actually been linked to causing osteoporosis because it actually pulls calcium out of the bones, but you are getting between 1 and 1.5 million white blood cells in your milk. Now the government allows for this. What that equates to us non-biologists is actually pus. So when you're drinking your milk, we think it's a nutritious drink, right? We grew up thinking you need to drink milk to be strong, have good teeth, healthy bones and everything. And then as we age, we worry about osteoporosis, right? Well, as I mentioned, the casein, which is the type of protein found in dairy milk, actually has been linked to causing things like osteoporosis. It's also been linked to obesity, cancer, infectious diseases, allergies, gas, and constipation. Now, the New England Journal of Medicine published a few years back a study that they did on 65 toddler-aged children. And what they found was that those children consuming dairy milk suffered from severe constipation. When they removed the milk from the diet, the constipation went away. So their assumption was that this protein, the pus, the growth hormone and everything in the milk that the children were taking in was actually causing constipation. To the mothers in the room, have you ever had a constipated child? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they were pretty unhappy, right? So one suggestion I would make is pulling back the dairy from their diet and giving it a chance to resolve itself. Now I mentioned that this casein protein has been linked to causing cancer. Well, the growth hormones are affecting our young girls in society. They have linked these growth hormones with decreased age of menarche. When I was a girl, we got our periods around, between like 14, 16 age. That was kind of when we started our first menarche. Whereas now they're finding girls are getting their periods at 10, 11, 12 years old, and they're tying that into these growth hormones that they're getting in through their diet. So we could look at milk, we could look at meat, we could look at all the products that are coming from our animals, and we're actually taking these hormones into our bodies. So in addition to that, they're also finding that the growth hormones and the antibiotics and the pus remaining in milk after the processing can cause an increase in breast cancer. So to me, that's kind of a concern. So in my own life, I have switched to organic sources of dairy. I have also switched to almond milk, which is a non-dairy milk. You probably know somebody who's lactose intolerant. This wasn't a problem 30, 40 years ago. Now it's just a huge issue, and again, they're linking it to the type of milk that we're receiving in our stores. And our intentions are great when we buy milk, right? We want to get that healthy protein. We want to prevent osteoporosis. But if you want to actually do that in a more efficient way, an organic source of protein or even a soy protein is going to be a much healthier way. So we traditionally look for protein in our animal sources, but if we go to a vegetable source, which would be a soybean, we're getting a much healthier source. We're going to eliminate the risk of increase of disease, and we're going to actually decrease our risk for osteoporosis. So a cow in nature can live up to 25 years, but because we're pumping our cows on the dairy farms full of so many hormones and antibiotics, their maximum lifespan is between 4 and 5 years. And the reason for that is because of the hormone burnout and the constant antibiotic treatments. Basically, their bodies are literally imploding upon themselves. You may have heard about chicken farming, and chickens are so, their growth is so further accelerated, and we're trying to create bigger chickens faster, that most of them can't even walk because their legs are so underdeveloped that they can't even walk. So you can imagine a cow with its udders dragging on the ground, being pumped full of hormones and antibiotics. Its system is literally exploding from the inside out because we're forcing it to grow at a rate at 5 times what it's supposed to actually grow in nature. So, the government has kind of created this problem by providing these subsidies and forcing our dairy farmers to produce faster product, more product, cheaper product to get into our markets. And so I hope that some of the information I've shared with you today will kind of help you reconsider your choice next time you go to the store. And I realize that an organic product may be a little more expensive, but when you look at the cost of treating breast cancer, the cost of osteoporosis and the effect that has on your life, it's almost like, okay, milk is a little expensive organic, but then when you look at the cost of disease, that extra few dollars, per week or month, I think we could all say that our health is pretty much priceless, right? And so we would want to actually do that. So before I conclude, I just want to let you know that the 2 sources that I used today, The Wellness Revolution, this is an amazing book. It was written by a U.S. economist, Paul Zane Pilzer. I read this when I was a student, and there is a section in here about dairy, and it talks all about the dairy deception and how, as consumers, we really just kind of have the veil over our eyes as to what's going on in our agricultural industry and how much of it is politically motivated. And then this one is another fantastic resource, Eat, Drink, and Be Healthy. This is where I found the study on the New England Journal of Medicine on the 65 toddlers that linked dairy consumption with chronic and severe constipation. So I definitely recommend that if you're interested in reading more about food and nutrition, or this would be more for our agricultural industry and the politics behind it, and a lot of the deception that's going on that we don't know about. And then this would be more about making healthy lifestyle choices. So again, my goal here today was to persuade you to stop buying milk from your regular grocer unless it says specifically from animals that are not treated with hormones or antibiotics. And you can look on the label of your milk product and it should say that. If it doesn't say that, then you can assume that it has between 1 and 1.5 million white blood cells in that gallon of milk. So just to conclude, our dairy cows are being abused and they're being pumped full of dangerous, harmful ingredients that then get into our bodies, and our bodies just can't handle it. So the increase of cancer, breast cancer specifically, and osteoporosis, and our dairy is just a complete cyclical myth that we're just kind of all under the veil of. So I hope that I've impressed upon you to make a different decision next time you go grocery shop. Thank you for your attention.